Hey MMA fans, Cage Minds, your host Mike and Frankel doing our predictions for UFC on Fuel 2 taking place in Sweden. 12 predictions to do, 12 fights on the card. Let's get right to it. First one, Jason's Shotgun Young, 8-5 record, taking on Eryk Little Lee Wisely, who's 19-7. Jason Young is going to look to keep this fight standing. He wants to use his boxing, throw in some leg kicks, not go to the ground where he has been submitted 3 out of his 5 losses. Wisely has won 7 times by the TKO, 3 times by the submission, has lost once by the submission, and 6 times by the decision. Wisely can be outworked, can be pushed around by bigger fighters. I don't think he's going to be as strong as Jason Young. Young will be able to push away from the takedowns, defend himself, should be able to land the cleaner shots, and win with a decision. Eryk Wisely can change all of this if he's able to grab the back, catch Young off of a bad transition, get him in a scramble where Wisely could take advantage and get to the submission. But for the most part, feel comfortable saying the decision victory with effective striking and distancing will be Jason Shotgun Young. Next prediction. 2 fighters that are both making their UFC debuts. Simon Thorson, who's 16-2-1, taking on Bissam Youssef, who's 6-0. Thorson, 16 victories, 14 by way of the submission. Very lengthy welterweight. Youssef has been able to get the job done in his 6 victories with 2 TKOs and 3 submissions. Youssef can strike, throw knees in the clinch, take the fight to the ground, got a nasty rear naked choke. But Simon Thorson is more well-rounded, more seasoned, more experienced, and I'd say has a grappling advantage. Thorson wins this fight by decision, I believe, with the utilization of grappling and position, possibly sinking in the submission, using that seasonedness to sneak in a small opening and get a victory. But by decision, we're going to go Simon Thorson. Next matchup, Reza Medadi, who's 11-2, will take on Yoslandi Escudero, who's 6-0. Medadi is going to look to take this to the ground, search for a submission, or do everything he can to keep pressure and stay on top and keep this on the ground. Escudero can get submissions off of his back, is very lengthy, but would prefer to keep this fight standing, use his striking, and knock out his opponent. Medadi is not going to give space, will come right in, and depending on if Escudero can land a knee or an uppercut, this could be a very long night for Escudero, as Medadi, very good ground skills, a slightly bigger fighter by an inch. Be very interesting to see where this fight takes place. We know if it's standing, it's Escudero's. If it's on the ground, it's Medadi's. But I think Reza Medadi will get this to the ground and eke out a decision victory using control. I don't see a lot of ground and pound. And if he does go for a submission, Escudero should be able to possibly get out and then change the position. So I think Medadi will use a lot of control out of his wrestling background. Next matchup we got Francis Limitless Carmont, who's 17-7, will take on Magnus Sionblad, who's 10-3. Carmont, second time in the UFC, 6 TKOs, 8 submissions. Magnus Sionblad, 6 TKOs, 3 submissions. Carmont should be able to win this fight with his paralysis for being able to use his strength, be the more physical fighter in close, win the clinch and win the takedowns, being in top control and keeping there with the ground and pound. Francis Carmont will win this fight with a decision. Next fight we have is Cyril the Snake Diabate, 18-8-3 versus Tom Diblas, who's 7-0, coming in on short notice. Diabate, a former Muay Thai champion, has good offensive grappling skills, but has a tendency to get hit, give up his back, and lose to submissions. Diblas is a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner and a good freestyle wrestler. He will get this fight to the ground, and I believe in the second round, beat the Abate with a rear naked choke. Next matchup we're going on to, Papi Abedi, who's 8-1, is taking on James Head, 7-2. Abedi bit off more than he can handle in his first UFC matchup, fighting Thiago Pitbull Alves, but not scared, and also taking on such a high caliber competition shows his belief in his skills. Faster striker, heavier hands. James Head will be looking to take this fight to the ground. He wins this fight by going to the ground, landing ground and pound, but I think Abedi is going to be looking for the takedowns, will be able to use his judo, shook them off, and win this fight with a first round TKO with his aggressive, vicious striking. Now we move on to the main card. First matchup we're talking about, Brad One Punch Pickett, who's 21-5, taking on the Angel of Death, Damacio Page, who's 12-6. Both of these men are in desperate need for a victory. Page comes out a little bit wild, overly aggressive sometimes. I think Pickett's going to look to cautiously and keep his striking tight, look for a counter punch. And in what should be an entertaining back and forth battle, I believe in a split decision, Brad Pickett's going to be able to win this fight, keeping the strikes more tight and more accurate, as it's going to be aggressive and a really high-paced matchup. Next fight we're talking about, Damarques the Darkness Johnson, 18-9, taking on John McGuire, 17-3. Johnson has won and lost via the submission many times in his career. He likes to finish fights or be finished. We've seen his knockout power in his last fight versus Clay Harvison. Hopefully his grappling is ready for a test. John the One McGuire, as we saw against Eddie Edwards, goes right for the grappling, great transitions, great control, wins the majority of his bouts with a submission. I got this fight because of control, because of positioning, just because of his smoothness with his grappling. John McGuire should get a decision victory over Damarques Johnson. Next matchup we got Dennis Siver, 19-8, making his debut at featherweight, taking on Diego the Gun Nunes, who is 17-2. Dennis Siver wants to throw punches, throw spinning back kicks, use his kickboxing. Diego Nunes would like to use his Muay Thai, use his kicks out of different angles. I think the deciding factor, and again I'm going to say split decision in this fight, goes to, we don't know what kind of cardio ability the thickly muscled Siver will have. I guarantee that these rounds will be close. First round possibly Siver. I think the second two rounds will go to Nunes in a split decision, Diego Nunes. But if Nunes is not able to open up and use his hands more than we've seen in his last couple outings, he could be in serious trouble to be caught with a combination starting with a kick leading to a punch, as he's not that active with his own hands, looking to kick primarily. Siver could win with a knockout. Split decision though, our prediction, Diego Nunes for the victory. Now we're moving on to Paulo Thiago, 14-3, versus Siyar Bahadurzada. And I apologize for anyone's name that I messed up throughout this. I am sorry. And Bahadurzada is 24-1. Thiago wants to take this to the ground. Siyar would like to keep it standing and striking. Vicious puncher, can find his openings. Thiago, though, has never been stopped due to strikes. He's only lost to the decisions. I believe he's going to be able to get this to the ground, use control. We could see Thiago win with a submission, but I think he goes through to the decision. I'm seeing a lot of decisions because I think there's going to be some good fights, close and highly matched. Paulo Thiago wins this one with a decision, with the better wrestling, being able to get it to the ground, striking just enough to let Siyar get comfortable on the feet, then take it to the ground. Next matchup we got is the co-main event. Brian, All-American Stann, who's 11-4, taking on Alessio, Legionnaire Sakara, who's 19-8 with one no contest. I really truly believe this is going to come down to who's faster. They're both very technical, very crisp strikers, with the heavier hands, the faster hands, the better technique. I believe in a first round TKO is the prediction. Brian Stann will be victorious, bouncing back from his loss to Chael Sonnen. And now we're going to move on to the main event. hometown guy in the main event, Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson, who's 13-1, is going to look to break in and show that John Jones is not the only young phenom in the light heavyweight division. We'll take on Thiago Silva, who's 14-2 with 1 no contest. That no contest was his last fight. He's coming back off the drug suspension. We all believe it. If Gustafsson does not use his feet and allows Thiago to just walk right up to him and they exchange blow for blow in a brawl, Silva hits harder and Silva can win this fight. How we see it all playing out is that the Mauler uses odd angles, good techniques, keeps his hands a little bit higher than normal, keeps using foot movement, works the one weakness of Thiago Silva, which is the cardio. I think because of that cardio, he tires him out, peppers him with shots, and in the 3rd round, Alexander Gustafsson will win this fight with a TKO. We'll go right back through those predictions one more time. We got Jason Young winning, Simon Thorson winning, Razat Meradi winning, Francis Carmont, Tom DeBlas, Papi Abedi, Brad Pickett, John McGuire, Diego the Gun Nunes, Paulo Thiago, Brian Stann in the co-main event, and our main event victor will be Alexander Gustafsson. Those have been the predictions for Cage Minds. Hope everyone enjoys UFC on Fuel 2. I hope it's some great fights. Cage Minds, when you watch the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channels, leave us a comment, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Thanks for watching. Uncage the warrior within yourself, and have a good night.